In the Netherlands, Amsterdam City Council is going to be holding an emergency session to discuss Thursday's violent confrontations involving fans from an Israeli football club. There were more riots on Monday as tensions remained high. Police have made several more arrests connected to the violence last week. That's when Maccabi Tel Aviv fans chanted racist slogans against Arabs, burning Palestinian flags. Israeli fans were then beaten, leaving at least 5 people injured. Vaessen is joining us now from Amsterdam. The Dutch authorities may have hoped that a line could be drawn under this, but that doesn't seem to be happening, Step.
No, it doesn't seem so. At the moment, an emergency proceedings are happening in a court in Amsterdam to lift a protest ban that was imposed by the mayor and extended until Thursday. A protest was announced here today at the City Hall, where I am standing right now. The mayor has last night decided to make an exception and to lift the ban just for this one protest, but it's not allowed to be taking place here in the city center. It's been removed and moved to a park a bit outside of the city center, so this is now being challenged in court. Meanwhile, the mayor of Amsterdam has sent a 12-page letter to the city council explaining what happened ahead and during and after the match of Maccabi Tel Aviv against Ajax last Thursday. And in this letter she also writes that since these riots that happened on Thursday, a lot of violence and intimidation has been reported in Amsterdam by both a Jewish community and the Muslim community. And she also writes in this letter that any anti-Semitism should not be responded with racism. She says that Jewish Amsterdammers won't be any safer if Islamic Amsterdammers are feeling unsafe and unfree in this city. And this is basically the first time that a political leader in the Netherlands has used some words to calm down the situation. But if this is going to be enough, that remains to be seen. Last night we were there in a suburb of Amsterdam to see what was going on during that riot.
Another riot on the streets of Amsterdam. Youth claiming solidarity with Palestinians attack a tram in a suburb of the capital, setting it on fire, smashing windows and yelling abusive language. Tensions have been running high for days, following last week's violent clashes with Israeli football supporters. The arrival of more than 3,000 Maccabi Tel Aviv fans in Amsterdam last week was not considered a high risk by Dutch authorities, although this Jewish activist told police they are widely known for political violence in Israel and many serve as soldiers in Gaza.
We explained to them that there's going to be also people who are serving in Gaza, participating in the genocide, and that is another very big risk factor. These are not regular hooligans. For them, coming to Amsterdam was a little bit a demonstration, a pro-Israeli demonstration. So it was not only about football.
A taxi driver who wants his identity to be protected told us on his lawyer's phone what happened when he was filming Maccabi supporters tearing down Palestinian flags.
A hooligan dressed in black came to my taxi and tried to drag me out and started to damage my car. Another person came with an iron chain and hit my car several times. I reported this to the police, but they didn't take action.
His lawyer is documenting other cases of violence and racism committed by Maccabi fans.
What we saw is several footage of the Maccabi fans screaming in the middle of Amsterdam, kill all the Arabs, rape all the Arabs, and all kind of horrific things which should not be in any city center in the world.
An emergency debate here at the City Hall will aim to provide answers to what exactly happened during last week's riots. The violent role by Maccabi supporters is becoming clearer, and people are challenging the description by politicians of a pogrom against Jews. Using these terms to describe the riots can only lead to more divisions within Dutch society and are offensive, according to Yuval Gal.
Pogroms were part of European anti-Semitism, white supremacy, and what happened? Again, there was violence, people defended themselves, but it was definitely no pogrom.
Monday night's violence serves as a reminder of the ongoing tensions. A ban on demonstrations in the Dutch capital was already in place. That ban has now been extended. Vaessen, Al Jazeera, Amsterdam.
We're going to bring in Orly Noy. She's the editor at Local Call. It's described as an independent Israeli media agency. She's joining us from West Jerusalem. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. How is all of this being presented in Israeli media?
Oh, thank you for having me. Well, since the very beginning that the report started to arrive, the incident was described in the entire Israeli Hebrew media as a pogrom, as an anti-Semite pogrom against an innocent group of football fans, Israeli football fans, that were brutally attacked. We were given the impression that there was severe fear for their lives, that they are hiding in different places around the city, that some of them are not to be found, that there are few that lost contact with their families. And the entire incident was portrayed as something horrifying, gigantic in its dimensions, and nothing but an anti-Semite brutal pogrom.
There is an investigation going on, as Vaessen, our correspondent, was just describing there, to find out exactly what was happening. But the first incident does seem to have involved Israeli fans chanting anti-Palestinian slogans. And the local police there were only prepared to say that there were incidents on both sides. If there is an unwillingness to blame Israelis for anything, what kind of message do you think that sends?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, it brings, there is even a more essential question. How do we get to a place where a group of Israelis feel so comfortable and so confident to march about one of the major cities in Europe and chant genocidal hate songs while an actual genocide is going on by their country? And there is an incredible amount of detachment. Israelis simply do not, first, they do not see what the rest of the world is seeing about what's going on in Gaza and the ongoing genocide in Gaza. And they don't understand how all of this is being seen around the world, because the Israelis for over a year are constantly being given the impression by the Israeli media and the Israeli leadership that we are the sole victims, that we are the ones under attack, that we are the innocent victims. It's unbelievable. But it gives them the feeling that they can just, that this is how they are being seen by the rest of the world as well. And also,
let me just ask you, forgive me for interrupting you, but you raised two or three really interesting points. There is one that I want to bring up with you. By labeling criticism of Israelis or Israel or the Israeli government as anti-Semitic almost by default, how much does that weaken the impact of, and forgive my phrasing on this, genuine cases of anti-Semitism directed at Jewish people, not just Israelis?
Yeah. No, it's an excellent question, because we know that there are true incidents of anti-Semitism, and anti-Semitism is still a very much real thing. And by the way, even if it's not an anti-Semite, of course, that any sort of violence should be condemned, that there's no question about that. But it's not just trivializing the meaning of anti-Semitism. It's something way more severe, because anti-Semitism at its core is the notion that the norms and rules of humanity do not apply to Jews as a collective. By not allowing any criticism over Israel and therefore basically allowing Israel to step out of the norms of humanity, I think that this is essentially the meaning of anti-Semitism. By itself, this is the anti-Semitic act.
Orly Noy, we appreciate you talking to us on Al Jazeera, ma'am. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.